and we are working on T11 Case Problem 3, the Park City Gazette. And I'm going to do the same thing I do every time when I first start up a new project with MindTap here. I'm going to open up my HTML page with this link in a new tab so I can see the full screen version. And then also so I can slide this over and get rid of it so I can have more room to see my code. I have my HTML page here. I'm going to click and open my JavaScript page. And I can have both of them. And then I'm going to close my file tree. I don't think I'll need to open any other files, just that one. And then I'm always going to read the summary because I'm going to treat this, even though it's just an assignment, I'm going to treat it just like if I were building a real web page for a real client. And if I'm working with a real client, I need to know a little bit about who they are and what they want instead of just following the instructions. So I'm going to read the summary, and then I will have a look at what code we already have and familiarize myself with this assignment. All right, so the Park City Gazette. Bernard Mills is a website manager for the Park City Gazette located in Ennis, Montana. He has asked for your help in developing a crossword puzzle page. The puzzle interface should include support for both keyboard and mouse events and provide hints to users about their mistakes. A preview of the page is shown below. And sometimes I also like to click on that preview and see the full size of it. So we're going to have our crossword on the left, and our current page, we have some of that information, but it's not fleshed out yet. And then on the right hand side, we're going to have the across and the down, and we have that, but it's not displayed exactly the same. So it looks like we'll have a bit of work to do. And let's have a quick look at our available code in here. Let me shrink the instructions and get a full screen view of our code. Let's see, we have our crossword puzzle is a huge table. That's what that looks like here. Big table full of crossword information. I'm not too excited about that. And I don't care for big tables myself, but we're going to do it anyway. And then we have some buttons, and then the clues are on the side. This is just an ordered list. Okay, it's an ordered list, but I get the OL, but the numbers are being hidden. So we have number, value, and question, and an ID as well that matches the value. So I imagine we're going to use these IDs and values to some effect. I'm going to go all the way back up to the top menu at the top. Our JavaScript file is not included, so I think we're going to have to do that first. And then in our JavaScript file, what do we have here? We have a huge commented area. We have some blank functions. And we have some descriptors of some global variables and functions. But although the functions, the names of them are created, the global variables are not, and nothing else is created. So let's get over to our instructions here. Needs support the following features. Letters are entered from the keyboard in either the horizontal or vertical direction. Letters can be removed by pressing either delete or backspace key. So we're going to have to do, in our table, we're going to have to allow the user to type in letters and delete and backspace letters. And probably hit the arrow keys to move around in the table. I think that's what we're going to have to do. The active cell is highlighted in the puzzle. The across and down cells that intersect the active cell are also highlighted in the clues. That's something I hadn't really put together. So this S right here is the highlighted cell, and if it's highlighted, the clue that we are currently on in the across should be 12 across, and that should be highlighted like it is here. And then 1 down is the clue in this direction, and that is highlighted here. So we're going to have to access our table, figure out which element has the focus, which one the user has been focused on, and then highlight things accordingly. And I'm not sure what the different colors in the text is here, but we'll find out when we get there. Colored text as well as the clue for the cell and other letters in the clue answers. The user can navigate through the puzzle using either the mouse button or by pressing Tab, Enter, and arrow keys. If the user clicks the Show Errors button, any mistakes are briefly displayed in a red font. Okay, that must be this right here. If you click the Show Errors, what is 15 across? 15 across is actor Nathan. Yeah, it's not Nathan Page, it's Nathan Lane. And so the P and G is incorrect. At least I believe that's who that actor is they're referring to. Show solution button. The entire puzzle solution is shown, so I don't know if I want to click that, but maybe I will. Bernard has already created a sample puzzle in which each crossword letter is placed within a separate table cell. He's also put information about the puzzle within each cell using the following data attributes. I don't see that here. Okay, so the data attribute, data letter, it tells you what letter it is. Data right, left, down, up, and clue. Clue across and clue down. So he has all these data things already built into each element itself. So here's an element. Not only does it have its ID and what letter it's supposed to be, it has what clue, either across or down, lines up with that that block, and then which is the other block that is to the right of it, to the left of it, down from it, or up from it. So all that is already programmed in, and it's put into the actual HTML of each block, which is nice because that's one less thing for us to have to do, for me to have to do. Let's see. Data letter shows the letter for the crossword solution. We just went over that. The up, down, left, and right shows the IDs of the letters or the containers of the up, down, left, and right block. The clue A stores the ID of the puzzle clue for the crossword. Clue D for the down word. And you'll use all the data attributes to aid in navigating through the crossword table and check the user's solution and to highlight things accordingly. Bernard has also created a function named getChar or getCharacter that you will use to retrieve the character corresponding to a key code value. That's in here already. All right, return string from character code keynum. Okay, he's put that in. Instructions, interactive instructions. This is all the same stuff. Let's get started. All right, open the HTML and JavaScript files. Got that. Put my name and date. Sure. And the date. Today's the 18th. go to the HTML and link the file to crossword.css and asynchronously load the crossword.javascript. So let's do the CSS. Well, you know what? I'm going to copy and paste the previous CSS because I am prone to typos. And then I will copy and paste the file name. All right, so that CSS is there already. I wonder how much changes we got. Oh, a lot of changes from linking that CSS, so that's useful. Don't forget to do that step. A lot of stuff there, and then we can go ahead and do the script, and our script. Remember, script is not a self-closing element like link is for style sheet. So I have my script. I have to give it the source. That's the name of the file. And the name of our file is pc_cword.js. And they want us to asynchronously include this one. Now, what the async is going to do is when our JavaScript loads, right, when our HTML gets to the JavaScript, because our browser is going to parse this HTML, and when it gets to the JavaScript file, the async is going to trigger it to begin downloading the JavaScript, but go ahead and continue parsing HTML while we download. And then once the JavaScript gets downloaded, we'll be partway down the page when that happens, then we'll pause parsing the HTML and instead parse the JavaScript. It's going to speed the file up a little bit, to speed the whole download up a little bit. What it's not going to do, because more recently we would use the defer instead, and what the defer did is make the JavaScript wait all the way into the end, which is very useful to us because then our JavaScript code can access the HTML elements because we waited for them to get created. In this case, with the async, it is not going to wait for them to get created. It's just going to do things a little bit quicker, but it's not going to wait for the HTML to finish parsing. And so we're going to have to code our page in some way to make it wait and finish parsing. So we've done that. It says take some time to study the contents of the table. We've done that already, actually. And let's have I don't think any changes happen on our page. We've added that CSS though, and we get to do the document setup. We've not had to do this in a couple of assignments because we've not been adding CSS in the past couple of assignments. So that was nice. Now we can get in here and actually do some JavaScript next. Pardon my voice. I seem to be losing my voice, but I'll do what I can. I have some water to help me. All right. If I'm too quiet, then you just have to turn the volume up, I guess. Nothing else I can do yet, but I'll keep at it. Let's see. Global variables. Return to the JavaScript file I have. Below the initial comment section, declare the following global variables. All 6 of these global variables, which are these 6 right here. So I'm going to go below, make a little bit of room, below this, and we're declaring them, and only one of them is going to have a value set right off the bat. The rest of them are just going to be declared and empty. So first one, var, keyword var to create a variable, all letters, that's the first one. And the next one, notice I'm copying and pasting again, and that is because I have a bad habit with typos. And so if I can copy and paste then I can make sure that the typo is not mine. Could be somebody else's typo. I could copy and paste somebody else's typo. I've done that before. And then the last one actually does have a value. And this is going to be equal to the string right. Right. And let's read what these are actually. So all letters will be used to reference all the letters in the crossword puzzle. Current letter will be used to reference the letter currently selected in the puzzle. So we're going to use many of these as document objects. We're going to do something like document get element by ID and assign it to current letter, something like that. Word letters, which will be used to reference the letters used in the currently selected across and down clues. So when we use these, we'll make them assigned to the correct letters, and then we can use that in order to set their styling accordingly, their CSS style through JavaScript. Across clue will be used to reference the currently selected clue on the across side, so we're going to turn it blue. The down clue will be used to access the currently selected down clue. And the type direction stores the current typing direction either to the right or down, set its initial value to right. So this is probably a convenience for the user so we know which direction they're typing when they're inputting things, either right or down. We don't want to make them type right to left or up or down to up, just left to right or up to down, top to bottom. Once we have those, I think there's a check mark for global variables. Very nice. And the next setting, add a command to run the init function when the page loads. So the init function, which is this function right here, doesn't do anything yet, but when the page loads, that is the window object, right? And the onload event for the window objects will be triggered once the window object finishes loading all the HTML. The window object will trigger its own onload event, and by default it's not set to anything, so it doesn't trigger any JavaScript unless we tell it to. So we're going to tell it to trigger the init function, and I don't want to put the parentheses on this function. Okay, I want to just set it to the init function itself. The limitation of this is I won't get to pass any variables to it. I won't get to pass any arguments, any parameters to this function. The init function, luckily for us, does not have any parameters. But if it did, and we put those parameters here with our parentheses, what happens is we won't be setting the onload event to the init function itself. We will be setting the onload event to the result of the init function, and then in order to get the result of it, we would have to immediately call that function. This is a function call when you have the parentheses, and so it would call that function immediately and not actually wait for the onload event. By removing the parentheses, now we're referencing the entire function as an object, and we're saying that the window.onload event is now equal to the init function, the function itself. And so when the onload event triggers, it will call the function. The downside is, of course, we don't have the option to send arguments to it. If we needed to do both, we would have to use an anonymous function, and we may also have to use an anonymous function set to a variable in order to give us even more functionality even in the future. But because it's an init function, it doesn't take any arguments, it doesn't have any parameters. We're very safe in just putting the function like we have right here. And I think that's actually a step in itself, is to just set it to that. So we've done a step already right there. Thanks, little robot guy. And now they want us to actually create the body of the init function. And there's quite a lot that's in there, actually. All these 4 things in here, and some of them may be pretty long. Let's see. Create the init function, and init is short for initialization. And so when the window loads, window on load, when the window finishes loading all the HTML, we're going to call the initialization function, very common, and initialize all of our JavaScript. Okay, which sets up the initial commands of the puzzle. Add the following commands to the function. Set all letters, that's our global variable, and normally global variables are not a good idea, but of course, we're still learning, and this is the easiest way to achieve our goal. So we're using global variables. Set all letters to reference the elements using the selector table crossword span. So this is a little bit of a new thing for us. We're going to use the all letters global variable is equal to document.get, I'm sorry, not get, dot query selector all. All right, query selector all, and this command, this method of the document object is very cool. We're going to pass it a string, and we're actually going to pass it this exact string right here. And so this, we're allowed to use a full CSS selector, just like we did when we were using CSS in a few chapters ago. And so all letters is equal to all the spans that are inside the table with the ID crossword. That's what this is. And so it's going to access our page directly, because we've waited for the page to onload, for the window to load before we've done this. So we know for sure that everything is loaded. And part of the reason we've done this is because we use the async attribute on our JavaScript script element. So we used the init, and now we can access, by using query selector all, we can actually do a CSS selector query. Very convenient. And we're going to do something similar for for the current letter to reference the first object in the all letters collection. So the query selector all is one of the methods that is going to return an array of elements. It's going to return an array of all the elements that match this query selector. And so the all letters is going to be an object, an array of objects, each one of those objects, all the letters in our crossword, all of these. And so the current letter, we're going to set it to the first one in here. So current letter equals all letters. The first element in the array is the 0 index. Remember, the way the array indexes work is, I'm going to typo. The 0 index means you go to the first space and then you move 0 spaces over. So that the current letter is going to be, initially when the page first loads up, the current letter is going to be set to the first in the list in the array of letters. The user will be able to change this at some point, but we're going to start by setting it to the first one, and the first one should be this one right here with the number 1 in it because it is the first one that appears in the HTML itself. Next, we're going to declare the across ID variable. That is new. We don't have that here. Set its value equal to the value of the data clue A attribute for the current letter. And then declare a down ID variable setting its value equal to that of the data clue D attribute for also the current letter. So 2 new variables, variable across ID. So this is going to be we're going to get this ID from the data clue A. So if I scroll down the first element, the data clue A is A1 across 1, and the data clue D is D1 down 1. And so that matches up. If we're at this element, the first element, the across clue is 1 across. This is 1 across, okay? And the down clue is 1 down. This is 1 down. That's how crossword puzzles work. And so we are going to set the across ID and the down ID equal to the value stored in this data attribute. So the way data attributes work in all these HTML elements is you start with the word data and a dash, and then you name it as if you're naming a variable. And so these have all been named for us, and we don't have to come up with names for them, but we do have to access them. Right? So across ID is equal to current letter dot dataset dot clue A. Let's try. I'm going to try lowercase and without the dash. And then the same thing with the down ID. All right. I don't normally put dashes inside my names here, so we're going to see how this works. I got an error on line 66. That's mine right here. Oh, I did not type the equal sign. Duh. Current letter is not defined. I have a typo right here. All right, and I don't have any more errors. All right, let's just see if this is going to work. I may have to come back and change this value here, but for now, let's leave it because it is lowercase. All right, and then next, set the across clue that comes from this to reference the element with the ID attribute across ID. Set the down clue to reference the element with the ID attribute down ID. Okay, so we got the across ID and the down ID from our HTML. The is equal to this A1 is the across ID, and so there's going to be an element. Oh, not here. All the way down here with an ID A1. And this is the one that we want to highlight. And then the other has a D1, and this is the element that we want to highlight from the list, the ordered list right here. All right, so let's do that. That's what we're doing right here. So that's going to be the across clue equals, so we need to get the element with that ID, document.get element by ID, and the element we want to get by ID is the one referenced by these values that we just got. So the across clue is the document that has the across ID. And the down clue is the element that has the down ID. So let's, hopefully we can get that. Yeah, that's all right. Let's have a look at what they are looking for. Oh, correct values for across clue and down clue. Let's see. Set all letters to reference the element using that. We did that. Set current letter to reference that. We did that. And 0 passing, 2 failing. All right, so we have an uppercase A and D. Ah, that's what they're telling us to use. All right, and that seemed to work. Let's see. We've not actually done anything with that information, though. We've collected the information. We have all letters. We have the current letter. We have the across clue and the down clue, but we've not taken any action with them yet. So we're probably going to do that on our next page of instructions here, which is the format puzzle function. Create the format puzzle function. Well, it's right here, format puzzle. This function will format the colors of the crossword table puzzle and the clues in the clues list based on the letter that is selected by the user. The function has a single parameter named puzzle letter. It's already there. And the following commands to the function. Change the value of current letter to puzzle letter. All right, so we're in here, and the current letter equals whatever, oops, they want us to change the value of the current letter, that's our global current letter up here, equal to whatever is given in the puzzle letter. Okay, and puzzle letter, I think we haven't used this one yet, but when the function gets called, It's going to have a letter as an argument, and we're going to set that equal to the current letter. So I assume this is going to be called anytime the user selects a new letter. Remove the current colors in the puzzle by looping through all the items in all letters in the all letters object. Change the background color style of each of them to an empty text string. So the all letters, which we have already set in our init, that is equal to everything in the table here. We're going to loop through and set these. We're going to loop through that array, and then in each one, we're going to set the background color to an empty string. So the loop through, we're going to set our initial loop variable to 0, and we're going to loop through so long as that loop stays, or that value stays less than all letters dot length. That's the length of the array. And then we will increment that value one time each. And then inside the loop, we will take the all letters array, find the index of whichever one that we are at, access its style, then access its background color. And in JavaScript, all the CSS styles, when we access them, they are all in camel case. And we're going to set that equal to an empty string. And that is that step right there. Right there. So this will take, at the beginning of each turn, or when a user clicks on something, first we'll set all of the crossword elements to background color 0, and then based on whichever one they've selected, then we'll start highlighting them the correct color. After the for loop, remove the highlighting of the current clues by changing the across clue and the down clue to an empty one. So we got the across clue and the down clue, and we need to also change those background colors. So I'm going to copy the background color that I have right here and do the across clue dot style dot background color equals an empty string, and then do the down clue dot style dot background color equal to an empty string. Assuming I didn't have a typo the first time I did it, I can copy and paste it and I won't get another typo. Right, so we've done the across and down clue after the for loop. Next, we're going to determine whether there exists an across clue for the current letter by testing whether the current letter dot dataset dot clue A is not equal to undefined. So clue A, and let's have a look at clue A. If we're at anything that we have here, clue A, clue A, clue A. Most of these are going to have clue A, but some of them don't have a clue A. This one right here, right? ID C31, wherever this element is, second row, first element, second row, first element, nah, third row, first element, third row, first element, 3-1. It does not have an across. See, this element does not have an across, and it's blank. It's not even input, so we can determine if it is not equal to undefined, and if that is true, then we'll perform this action. But first we have to do an if statement to see if that is not equal to undefined. If the current letter dot dataset dot clue A is not equal to, if I did not equal to with just the normal not equal to, that's not necessarily good enough to test if it's something is not equal to undefined. So I need to do the triple not equal to in both type and value. And in the event that the across clue for the current letter is not undefined, which means it is defined, then we can do this group of steps. Set the across clue to reference the element with the ID value of what the cross clue is set to. In order to reference the across clue for the current letter. So this is what the across ID is from the init. We're in a different function. We're in a format puzzle function, so we don't have access to the across ID any longer. But we do have the access to current letter.dataset.clue A. So set the across clue, which is another one of our globals, and that is going to be equal to, just like we did up here. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste this right here. Across clue. We don't have access to the across ID, but we can set it equal to what the across ID was also set equal to. Change the color of the across clue to blue. Now that we have the element of the correct ID for the across clue of whatever the user has selected, we can do cross clue dot style dot color equals blue. And you saw my CSS brain there a moment ago. I put my colon instead of my equal sign. So I got the across clue element, which is the element whose ID is set to the currently selected letter clue A data value. So the currently selected letter, assuming it has a clue A, will have an ID set there. A ID, this one is A9, so if a user selected that one, we would be accessing this element with ID A9, and we will set its color to blue so that it would look like this one. Set the word letters to reference all elements selected by the CSS selector where clue data clue A equals clue, where clue is the value of data clue A for current letter. So big response here. Word letters is one of our globals. We're going to set that equal to a selection of objects. Word letters equal to document dot query selector all. Right. And what we're selecting is we're selecting all the elements with the attribute data clue A equal to clue, where clue is equal to the actual value, this value, dataset clue A, And hopefully all of our variable names match up and actually run. I think MindTap might need some update on this assignment. We'll have a look. Right, so we need a string. Let's get started with the string, and we'll do this exact string. Okay, so this is our CSS selector. We have the square brackets, which means we're looking for an attribute, data clue A equal to some value. That's not the value we want, not the word clue. We want to break up my strings and put our plus concatenators, and the value we're going to put is this value, current letter dot dataset dot clue A. And so word letters is now set to a group of document elements who have the dataset data value clue A equal to whatever value we got from our current letter. So our current letter right here, if somebody had the first letter in the puzzle, data clue A is set to A1, and then all the elements who have data clue A also set to A1, which is this next one and this next one and this next one. All those are going to be in that CSS query. And if they're in this CSS query, we're going to assign them as an array to word letters, and then change the background color to all the word letters to this RGB value. We need another loop for that, so we can go through each of the elements in the array. I've finished this loop, so I can use the variable I again. For I equals 0, I is less than word letters this time. Dot length, I plus plus, and then each one of these, remember last time it was all letters and we set the background color. This time it's going to be word letters with the index of I for the loop, and we're going to change the background color to this RGB value. You have to put that in a string. Okay, just copy and paste it from here. And repeat all those steps that we did for the across and do it for the down. So we've been doing the across clue and word letters, and we're going to copy and paste this whole section that we just did. And then I'm going to come in and change every reference to across and make it down. So clue A becomes clue D, clue A becomes clue D, and clue A becomes clue D, clue A becomes clue D. That's all of those. Across clue becomes down clue. Across clue becomes down clue. Word letters, we're going to reset word letters to this new query. It's okay because we finished the previous one, and we're just going to do it again with this one. This one has a different RGB color, so we'll put that in there. This one is going to be changed to red instead of blue. And make sure that I change everything else. Everything is down clue, clue D, red instead of blue, this RGB color instead of that RGB color. And I think that's good. We have another step here. Indicate the typing direction for the current letter. If type direction equals right, change the background color of the current letter to this. So the typing direction And we're just going to do an if test because switch typing direction is a different function down here. And so we're not going to switch the typing direction. We're just going to check what it is. Right, so if type, remember type direction is one of our global variables. If type direction equals the string right, then our color, background color of our current letter would be this. So let's copy and paste this line. Instead of word letters I, it's going to be current letter. Current letter's background color will be this RGB color if that were true, and then a different color else if it was not true. And I can copy and paste yet again, and now put this other RGB color in right here into that string. Fix my typo. This is a long one today. Whoa. Cross. Did I miss a step there? Yeah, guess I did. Okay. I missed a step. After this, this, oh no, I did it right here. Oh, okay. I did the background color on the clues. It's supposed to be just color. Let me fix that. Let's see how many of these I get. Right, so I got those. Hmm. All right, right. That is actually lowercase down here because this needs to match what's actually in the HTML and CSS. This is the JavaScript version of that. The case is different. No, still no. Get that. Oh, I have a typo here. And of course I copied and pasted it down here. Now let's see if that helped me. I saw a typo. Yeah, I had a typo. That's what it was. All right. This is a long page. The next one. Okay. We're here now. We're here. Return to the init function and add the following commands to apply the format puzzle function. All right, so I'm back to the init function. Give myself a couple lines of space. Color the crossword puzzle's first letter by calling the format puzzle function using the current letter. So now that we have made the format puzzle function, we're going to call it and we're going to give it the current letter. I think that's a step by itself here. No. Oh, it's almost a step by itself. Okay. Users should be able to select a puzzle cell using their mouse. Loop through the items in all letters object collection for each item. Change the cursor style to pointers. So we need to loop through the all letters, which is actually this same loop right here. For I is less than all letters dot length, I plus plus. We're going to do something different inside of it though. We're going to change the cursor style to pointer. So all letters of index I while we're in the loop dot style dot cursor, that's a CSS property, equals pointer. Add on mouse down event handler that runs an anonymous function, and that anonymous function should call the format puzzle function using the event object target as the parameter value. Okay. Event object target. So we're going to add an event handler and the mouse down. So still the all letters of index I while we're in the loop on mouse down event handler equals an anonymous function. And the reason is if we made this a normal function, it would not set the event to the function itself. It would set it to the result of the function, and it would just immediately call the function, and we wouldn't get the event action that we really want. So we're going to make an anonymous function and call the format puzzle function and the anonymous function, and have something else, right? Using the event object target as the parameter value for this. So the event object, usually we do like a parameter called E for the event, and then the event target is event.target. And if we want to get the event all the way down here, we have to pass it through our anonymous function as well. So our anonymous function will take a parameter, will take an argument, and it's going to get by default, we're putting it into an event object. So the default is going to be the event object. That anonymous function is going to have that letter E variable. Inside the anonymous function, we can access E and reference the E.target parameter and send that to the format puzzle. Now we're outside of the loop. Also in the init function, add an event handler to run the select letter function in response to the onKeyDown event occurring within the document. So document dot on key down, it's a property, so we set it equal to the select letter function. And just like when we had the select, set the init function to the window to onload, we're not going to put the parentheses. We're not going to get the option to set a parameter. If we wanted to, we would do it like we did with this format puzzle here with the anonymous function. So now I can come down here and get this check mark, I think. Hey. All right, and then the next one was this select letter to the init function. Oh, I did that. Add the select letter to the init function. Yeah. All right, now I gotta create the select letter function. Create the select letter function. So I'm gonna come down here to the select letter, and select letter takes an argument. Okay, select letter function. The purpose of this function is to allow users to select puzzle cells using the keyboard. Add the following commands to the function. Declare left letter, up letter, right letter, and down letter variables, and set their variables to reference the letters to the left, the above, the right, and below of the current letter using the dataset left, up, right, down, and current. The dataset is data up, data down, data left, and data right. So we can do that fairly easily. Var, what is it called? Left letter equals document.get element by ID. We're going to access the current letter. Dot dataset dot, what is this, left letter? Left. So we want to get the left letter is whatever letter is to the left of the current letter. So if the current letter was this first one, to the left of it would be, I guess it would be this one, because we're going to go all the way around. Yeah, so we would access the element with this ID. And so that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to do this left, up, right, down, left letter, up letter, right letter, and down letter is equal to the left, up, right, and down data set from the current letter. So the current letter has a data set left that is set to an ID of the letter that's to the left of it, and we want to document.get element by that ID and set it to the left letter variable. Next, store the code of the key pressed by the user in a user key variable. User key, capital K, equals event E, the event that calls this function, dot key code. It says right here, hint, use the key code property of the event object to retrieve the key code value. So whatever key the user had pressed in order to trigger this function, that's now going to be set, in the user key variable, and then add the following if-else structure to determine the program response based on the value of the user key. If the user key has pressed all these keys, we're going to go through the keys by number. 38 is the up arrow key, 39 and 9 are the right arrow and tab, 40 and 13. We don't have to memorize all these. I'm sure they're in a chart somewhere. We don't even have to access the chart today because all we are concerned with is the numbers that they're telling us. So I'm going to write a big if-else chain or ladder. If user key equals exactly 38, that's the up arrow key. Oh, no, 37 is the left key. So start with that. All right, else if the user key is equal to 38, do that. 37, 38, next one is going to be 39, or we do the double pipe, or user key is equal to 39 or 9. Next is 40. Notice I'm not putting the content in there, I'm just getting the structure all set. Next is going to be 8 or 46. Next is going to be just 32. And then the last one is if the user key is in between 65 and 90, so greater than or equal to 65 and user key is less than or equal to 90. And that will be in between 65 and 90, including the letters at 65 and 90. And now in each one, I'm going to go back and do what belongs inside of here. So if the user key was 37, that's the left arrow key. Call the format puzzle function using left letter as the parameter value. So left letter is our variable right here, and actually I have to fix this and make it have an uppercase L in all these cases. I did not do that. There we go, fix my error. Format puzzle, and I'm going to give it the left letter because it's 37 goes to the left arrow key. 38 is the up letter. 39 is going to be for the right letter. 40 is going to be for the down letter. Let's see, 8 and 46, you can backspace and delete. So that is going to be set to current letter. That's what it tells us to do. And this space bar, we're going to run the switch type direction function. Okie dokie. Don't forget your semicolon. And then this last one, we have a bit of work on this last one. Let's see. Write the character into the cell by changing the text content of current letter to the value returned by the getCharacter function using the user key as the parameter value, and then move to the next cell in the puzzle. If type direction is right, move the next cell by calling format puzzle function with the right letter, otherwise the down letter. So we have a couple of steps to do. First, we need to write the character into the cell by changing the current letter text content current letter dot text content. We've used this one before. It's similar to inner HTML, only different. It only accesses the text content. Equals the get character function, and that's a function that is down here already made for us. I don't know why they made that one for us. The get character function, we're going to use the user key. We're going to pass that to it. And that's that part. If the type direction is equal to right, then we're going to do something, and if it's not, we're going to do something else. What are we going to do if it's right? We're going to do format puzzle with the right letter. Well, that's the same as this one over here. And if it's the other, we're going to do format puzzle with the down letter. We can copy and paste that as well from up above. And after the if-else structure, enter a command to prevent the browser from performing the default action in response to the keyboard input event. So the keyboard event will do whatever the keyboard event is. We want to prevent that from happening after all of this. So the event that got passed to us, remember, is this letter E that got passed to us. So E dot prevent default. That's the built-in method for events. And that's that whole section. Let's see, select letter. Hopefully we get that one. Oof. No. Spacebar key press calls the switch type direction. Did it? Spacebar key 32 calls the switch type direction. Yes. I have that. Do I have a typo somewhere? Let's see, did I not type switch type direction correctly? Switch type direction. I don't think this is working because we've not created the switch type direction function. So let me try and do that step. Create the switch type direction function, which both of these last two things kind of require, because based on the type direction, this last step is gonna act different. And switch type direction, obviously. I think that we got the cart before the horse on this one a little bit. So let's do this next one, and then we'll come back and see if it's going to work. So switch type direction function. Okay, so I found what I had done wrong here. I had a couple of things wrong. In my select letter program, I had a typo here. User key, I had lowercase, so this whole section wasn't working. And then this is the delete or backspace key. I had the wrong thing here. I didn't fully read it. I was just copying and pasting everything, and I'm like right letter, down letter, current letter, but I'm supposed to delete the text content of current letter. So I kind of got ahead of myself, and I just kept on going, and I didn't actually do the right thing here. So I have it correct now, and I have the check mark for it. Got it right. And I actually tested the next couple of them. I got them right, and then I undid them. So, uh, oh, and then I redid that one. Make sure that I had, yeah. All right, so now I am exactly where we left off, except with those two fixes, a typo and a wrong line. And now I can get started with the next step, which is create type direction, switch type direction function right here. Then we're going to add the following commands. First, I'm going to declare the type image, a variable called type image that points to the element with the ID direction image. So in here I can do var, create a variable, type image, that's what they want it to be called, and set this equal to document.get element by ID, and the ID is going to be direction image, img. I don't want to copy these quotes from MindTap because they may be using left and right quotes, and I don't want that. Next step, create an if-else structure that tests the value of my type direction global value. Yeah, type direction global value. So remember that is a global if and then else. Right, so there's my if else, and I need to test the value of the type direction. The type direction is equal to right, then we're going to do something. And if it is not, it will be equal to down, then we're going to do something else. So if it's right, when I switch type direction, if it's already set to right, I'm going to then set it to down. So when I'm doing the function that switches type direction, if the type direction is currently set to right, I switch it to down. And then I change the source of this image, my type image, dot src equals, what do I change it to? PC right. No. That has to be a typo. .png. If I change the direction to down, the image needs to also be down. That can't be accurate. It says right here, it says change it to down and the image to right, and then change that to right and the image down. That can't be. I'm going to do it the way I think it's right, and then if they don't accept it, I'll switch it back. Change the background color of the current letter to this RGB red color. So current letter dot style dot background color equals, and it's going to be this RGB color. Hopefully I don't have to switch that as well. And then on the else side, I'm going to do all this same stuff except, different values. Instead of down, it's going to be right. And instead of down here, the picture down, it's going to be right. And it's going to be a different RGB color. This one is mostly red, and this one is mostly blue. That's that. Let's see if I get the let's see if I can get the exception for that. Get a check mark from our friendly robot, and he says no. Oh, I know. Actually, I have a typo in background color. I do the same typo a lot, actually. When I'm typing, my left and right hands get out of sync. Ooh, that is not my only problem here, huh? Switch type direction. Get element by... Oh, same thing here. Documents. Typos, typos. I know my this image switch that I made. I know it's got to be correct because I already did this one once. Type image equals document dot get element by ID direction ing type direction. Well, let's try it out then. Huh, really? You want it to be... Okay, let's do the next step. That's what they told me to do, and I did it wrong. I did it differently on purpose. All right. Next one. Users can change the type direction either by using the keyboard or by clicking the pointer on an image located. That's this pointer down here. They can do this. Return to the init function and add the following commands. Let's go all the way back up to the init. Declare a variable type image, referencing the, let's copy that from down here. Type image. When we did it once correctly, we can just copy and paste it. Change the cursor style of the type image to pointer. Okay. Type image. This is a style change. Style dot cursor equals pointer. That's the cursor style. That means so that when we put the mouse over it, it's going to turn into a pointer. It's going to mimic the look of a link, even though it's not a link. And then run switch type direction function when it is clicked. So we're going to do the type image on click function, on click event equals switch type direction. Remember, we don't want to use the parentheses on this function when we're assigning it to the on-click event. If we put parentheses here, like this, what we're going to do is actually the initial parsing of this JavaScript page is going to get this function, call the function immediately, get the return value and set the return value to the onClick event. And of course, the switch type direction doesn't even have a return value, so then it will set it to undefined or null. We don't want that. We want to reference the switch type direction as a function object and set the function itself to the onClick event. And all right, and we got that. And if I refresh my page, now I have this icon as the pointer. Change my cursor to a pointer, and when I click it, it does the switch direction, switch type direction, the direction in which that we type. And Bernard wants users to be able to briefly view their mistakes. Add an onClick event handler in the init, so we're still in the init for the moment. Run the following commands when the user clicks the Show Errors button. Loop through all elements in the All Letters object collection. We can do that. We've done it a few times already in here. If the text content of an item does not match the value of the letter's dataset.letter property, change the color style of the letter to red. After a 3-second interval, set the color style for all the items in the All Letters collection to an empty text string. So we want to do a loop for the All Letters like we've done before. I'm going to copy it from earlier. So I have a for loop that goes through all the letters. We're not going to do the background color. We are going to see right. We have this is all going to go on the onClick. So let me do that first. Before I fill the loop, let me do document.get element by ID dot on click equals an anonymous function, and that anonymous function is going to have this for loop in it. And the element that we're getting is the Show Errors button, and the ID of the Show Errors button is Show Errors. At least I think it is. Show Errors. ID Show Errors. Yep. Okay, so now when somebody clicks that button, we're going to loop through all the letters, and so far we've not done anything, but we will. If the content of the item does not match the value in the letter's dataset, remember all these have a data letter, so the answer to this whole thing is actually in the dataset. Right, so if we're in a loop, all letters of the index I, the index that we're currently in, dot text content, if it's not equal to that, set it red. If it's not equal to the same thing, all letters of the same index I dot dataset dot letter. It's called letter, right? Dataset dot data letter. So if the data letter is not equal to the text that it's actually in it, then it's going to be set to red, which is all letters, again, the same index, dot style dot color equals red. We can use the keyword for that. Okay, and then after a 3-second interval, set the color for all of them to an empty text string. So we're basically going to unset it. Now we could set this interval on all of the letters, but we can also just set it on all the letters inside this if statement and then only set it for the letters that were red. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do, it's a 3-second it says interval, and we're going to change the color back. It's not really an interval, it's a timeout. Set timeout. We'll make another anonymous function. And at the end of the anonymous function, 3 seconds, 3,000 milliseconds, and then end that line. It's going to look a little bit unfamiliar to us because we have our set timeout taking up multiple lines, but we don't want to forget our semicolon at the end. And then we can put anything we want inside this function. And I'm only going to set all letters of index I style dot color equals empty string. All right. My answer key says to make a whole nother loop. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put a loop inside of a loop if I don't have to. Because I know that all letters of index I is the same one that I made red. So I only have to set the index for the ones that I made red. And I'm going to find out if they want to accept this or not. They don't. All right, so they want all of them. All right, I'll do all of them, but I'm going to put it on the outside of this loop. Because if I put a loop inside of a loop, what's going to happen is there we go. Oh, wait. I'll just put it on the outside of the if statement. I didn't have to put it on the outside of the whole loop and make a second loop. If you put a loop inside of a loop, for each interval in the loop, in the outside loop, it's going to go through the inside loop. And so there's 100 letters on here. It's going to do 100 times 100 in the inner loop. I don't need to do that. I only need to go through each one time. And it looks like MindTap is actually checking each one to make sure that it runs. And so I can do that. All right, what's not working here? Maybe I have an error. show errors. Document.get element by ID, show errors. Show errors is the ID. It says it's not a function at the moment. This is the init. Yeah, I have an error on 84. Documents dot get element by ID, show errors. I'm assuming I have a typo somewhere. Sometimes it takes a while to find it. Let me pause this. All right, so what I did here is my document get element ID show errors on click function. This first part is fine. I have my for loop goes through all the letters in all letters array. If the text content of that letter in each one is not equal to the dataset letter, then I set it to red. That's what I'm doing in the loop. And then what my answer key tells you to do is put this timeout function for the 3 seconds. Okay, we have our 3 seconds. It seems to be that the way the timeout function works, we do the timeout, and then I have an internal anonymous function, and I have to loop through all the letters again. I don't want to put this inside of this loop, because what's going to happen is then this loop is going to go through, there's like 100 elements on the table in the crossword puzzle, and for each time I get each one of those, I'm going to do this and do it 100 times. I don't want to do 1,000 times. I don't want to go 100 times for each 100. So I've completely separated them. This is something my answer key doesn't do, but the checkbox works. And the reason it does is because I'm looping through every element, setting the correct ones to red or setting the incorrect ones to red. And then I'm setting a timeout to an anonymous function. That function itself loops through all the elements and sets them to a blank color after the 3 seconds. So if I refresh the page now and I put in some incorrect answer, I show errors, turns red, waits 3 seconds, and it turns back again. So the last step, complete our init function by adding an onClick event handler to the show solution button. In response to the click event, run another anonymous function containing a for loop that goes through all the items in the all letters collection. Set the text content of each item to the value of the dataset.letter property. So I'm actually going to copy this previous one from the previous step because it's very, very similar. All right. Very similar. It's not the show errors, it's the show solution. And I can double check. That's the actual ID. Show solution. Yes, it is. I'm not going to do this timeout. I'm going to delete that. It's the same. It's an anonymous function. It's another for loop. I don't have an if statement. What this time I have is all letters.text content is going to be set equal to the dataset.letter. So very, very similar. Instead of test if it's equal to, I'm setting it equal to. So the show solution is the cheat button that we've done at the very end. We've gone through, we've looped through with a for loop every letter in the puzzle, taken its text content and set it equal to the dataset data letter value. So that should be that pretty small last step. Yay, got it. And now if I refresh my page, I'm going to press the cheat button. It'll be the most fun button to press maybe. Show solution. There it is. Just loop through all the buttons, or all the boxes here. I can change them. And then show errors, those are all the ones that I clicked. Show solution, change it back. All right. Last page, I think they just want to verify. I just went to the puzzle and clicked on a few things. I do not do, and I don't recommend you do, the W3C validator. It's been out of date for a while now, but all the stuff on here works. And okay, so this hand, when you're in write mode, it points down, and when you're in down mode, it points right. And I think that's backwards. It should point to the mode that you're currently on, and what it does instead is it points to the mode. If you click it, it's pointing to the mode that it will change to when you click it. I disagree with that. I think it should point to the mode that you're currently on. But that is that assignment. It was a very long one, but it's finished now. And that's it.